Okay.
Let me double check that.
Yeah, it's there. It's definitely there. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are going to call our board meeting to order at 6:35 p.m., beginning with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Somehow that duplicate maybe that's where Celeste threw it on top for some reason.
Okay. All right. So we just have a small change. We're moving on to the board discussion of agenda. Somehow the safety plan got put at the very top of the meeting, but it's farther down in the meeting, so we're going to just strike it from the top of the meeting. Any questions or discussion about the agenda for the evening?
He was looking right at me.
You put your live mic to say no?
I was thinking about maybe the Spanish thing since that's less than 24 hours.
I would love to talk
Oh,
about
all right, then yes.
it. Okay, so I know I emailed the board. We had our Spanish teacher is moving on to another school district. She's being board appointed tomorrow. She technically resigned on Sunday before her board appointment. Per New York State regs, if you're a certified teacher, you have to give 30 days notice. As a superintendent, I can release her early, but we need to, the normal process would be we post the job for 2 weeks, interviewing takes 2 weeks, then board appointment, and then that candidate would have to give their 30 days. So I spoke with the union leadership, and they're fully supportive. Thank you for the reminder, Jeff. We were in a bit of a tailspin because if you remember last year, it is nearly impossible to find a foreign language teacher. They ended up pulling an elementary teacher who was just bilingual, was not certified in Spanish, to kind of fill the gap until the Spanish teacher came back from leave. The quality of education is really important to us as well as the union. So after speaking with the union, I said, well, I have a Spanish teacher who I worked with at Heatley, and lovely woman, been in education for over 20 years. She's actually worked at Amsterdam School District. She's worked at Berkshire Farm. She worked at, I can't think of it, something Academy, the name of it. She actually took a hiatus from teaching and worked through UAlbany, an initiative for LOTE teachers and English teachers and ENL. And then she came to us to Heatley a little over 3 years ago. Vivian, you're going to see her name on here. When I didn't reach out to her, but someone internally knew what was going on and reached out to her, and she asked if I would call her, and I called her the other day, and she said, Kim, I loved working under your leadership. I would love to be a viable candidate. And I said, okay. And at Heatley, she taught English. She was a certified English teacher. She also the state allows you, they call it an incidental teaching form, where you can teach out of your subject area as long as you're a certified teacher. So she did English. She did FACS, Family and Computer Science. She did business communications. Then she did internal tutoring for students who had challenging behaviors. And she also did Spanish. So she's always, as I say, when you say, hey, Viv, I need you to play first base, you got it. Seasoned educator, 20 years. And to make the move, she didn't care about the step. She just cared about matching her salary. So talked with the union. I had her meet with the administrators. They all loved her because she's so warm and bubbly. She's very excited about this opportunity. And again, made sure the union was okay with it, putting her on an ELA tenure track until she gets her test results back. And then we move her over to the Spanish. We'll fill out the incidental teaching form for the few months that she'll be, teaching Spanish out of certification. So she is a native of New York, but lived in Puerto Rico. So Spanish is her second language. So she's very bilingual. I have to say this about Viv because I've worked with her. The toughest of the toughest kids were her kids. The kids that were super challenging at Heatley, where they would target certain staff to a point where they would quit, they never gave her grief. She makes amazing connections with our kids who need those connections the most. I think that she will be a very positive person within the secondary level. And I think Jody's excited because she has experience in all those other places that she'll play first base for her. So I don't like doing this. I don't like the 11th hour decision making. I like to follow, as you get to know me, I'm all about process. I'm all about procedure, and I stick to it and consistency. And the union and I and the admin team said, this is the 11th hour. And what problem are we trying to solve and what is best for kids? So the problem we're trying to solve is we need a Spanish teacher by next week. And what's best for kids is having a Spanish teacher by next week. So if Green Island releases her early, and they have every right to keep her, they have to come up with a plan, right? And we respect that. If they release her early, then we can release Isabel, and then it'll be a seamless transition. If we waited, we wouldn't, Isabel would move on to Ravina, and we'd probably still have a good month to 2 months before we have a teacher in place. So again, it bothers me that we're doing this last minute, but I know if it was anybody other than somebody that I've already hired in the past, like I already know that she's a great teacher, I would have slowed our roll on this. But because I have a relationship with her, I've observed her teaching, I've observed her relationships with kids, and I just know that she will be a phenomenal asset to the district. And the union's okay with it.
All right, great, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I do. So let's just say things don't quite pan out, that it doesn't connect, and we have that 1 or 2 month gap. What are the plans as far as a substitute, just a long-term substitute?
So if, because on the agenda, you're going to see the resignation of the current Spanish teacher, and then a couple items down is the appointment of the new Spanish teacher. So we're looking at maybe a 1-day gap. That's it. If we don't appoint Vivian tonight, then she's got to wait, or we have to, if the board wants me to go, open it up, put it on OLAS for 2 to 3 weeks, then you have to wait for that to close, then you have to start interviewing, you do initial rounds, final rounds, demo teaching, and then the next board. We would be looking at a board appointment not until October, and then it would be 30 days after that before the teacher could start, which would be November. And then now we're looking at nearly a 2-month gap without a teacher. So again, I had emailed the board earlier today saying, I know it seems like it's last minute. I double checked the open meeting law, and I know best practices is 24 hours. It is 24 hours for documents, so like the code of conduct or anything that you have to review. The public is entitled to see it within 24 hours, but simple resolutions are not mandated under open meeting, but they are just recommended. So we're now hoping, yeah, if the board approves her appointment, then we're looking at maybe 1-day gap. That's it.
And Ms. Kalen would be staying for the first 30
Right.
days. of the
Until
school year, right?
Vivian is,
Until
it's a ripple effect. Until
Yeah,
Vivian can
is
get released from
Gotcha.
Heatley,
Okay.
we're going to hold Isabel. And Ravina's been great. Ravina actually said, if you need more than 30 days, we'll give you 30 days. But, obviously, I'm sure Isabel's excited, and we thank her for her 15 years of service. Like, she has been a great asset to our community, and we want people to do what's best for their family. And she will love Ravina. She'll be supported by a very large department in Ravina. But in the perfect world, we would have Isabel starting Ravina with kids next week, and we would have Vivian, if the stars would align, because that continuity. But we'll do the best we can, and without having any gaps in instruction. Yeah. No. Again, it should only be, at max, it should only be 1 day unless the board doesn't approve her appointment. Then we're looking at November. There's no as it is, we can't find substitutes. And districts across the state are desperate for Spanish, any foreign language actually, Spanish, French, or German. They are, last year, this district was faced with that, and because the Spanish teacher needed a medical leave, and they could not find anyone to substitute, so they took a bilingual elementary teacher and put her in that position. I know that my other Spanish teacher at Heatley reached out to me not too long ago and asked if we had a Spanish opening, and I said we didn't. And she, so when this was coming to fruition, I reached out to her and said, hey, you had asked, and she just accepted a job at Mohan. So she made that commitment. But Vivian is just as stellar.
Okay. If there are no more questions, then we'll move on to item 104. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approve the agenda for the regular meeting. May I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second? Tony. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
You're so much smoother with that than I am.
I've had a little practice.
It's just so much. I have more fun.
All right. Next, what the category? I guess it's the category, right, of our agenda. Public comment. Says public content on here. We should change that. Did anyone sign up for public comment?
Does
my thing
anyone
just
want
says
to
public
speak?
Content. That's all. It's just okay.
All right. Thank you so much. We're good.
All right, very good. We're going to move on to the next one. All right. Next item, agenda items. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approved the minutes of the regular board meeting on August 6th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Alyssa. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Avis. Comments or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I wasn't here, so I think usually you'd abstain, right? You can. Yeah, I'm gonna abstain.
Oh, shoot, I need to abstain too, and I wasn't here. I abstain. Sorry.
I mean, you reviewed it, so if you looked at it and it's okay with you, you're
It's
still
online.
allowed to vote.
I did an amazing job.
Oh, yes.
There were witnesses.
There were witnesses. He remembered the word abstention.
Most of the time.
All right, 2 abstentions. All right, moving on to our superintendent's report, please.
Not a lot tonight. So we had new teacher orientation yesterday and today. We had 12 new staff. We opened it up to all staff. It wasn't, I shouldn't say new teacher, it was new staff orientation. The leadership team and myself, both for new staff orientation and the superintendent conference days coming up, we really want to emphasize the vibe of positivity and joy. I know I shared with the board the agenda for next week. You are all welcome to come. And I actually am inviting on Tuesday, the union had come and said, you know, we really love the tradition on the first day the board cooked us hot dogs. So we're going to order salads, I think from Lucia's, because they're the only place open on Tuesdays. We're going to get like macaroni salad, tossed salad, and then we would love for you to come either in the beginning. The beginning is going to be fun. I got few fun things to do with them in the beginning. And then Melissa's obviously going to address them. We've invited our community partners like PTA, Booster Club, et cetera, to say a few words. And then if the board would be present for lunch, I think we're going to have everyone here the first day. So the goal ultimately, as I've said from the beginning, is to really build upon a positive culture. And normally your superintendent conference days, which you had approved back in July to make it 2 days versus just 1, is reconnecting with your colleagues in both buildings. So when I did my listening tour in June, a lot of staff recognized, like, I have no idea who works in the other building. So some of the activities we'll do on that opening day, we'll reacquaint them. Taking that same mantra with our new staff, It was, when we were planning it, the principals and Jeff and myself, we all said, we want them to walk away. We know there's nuts and bolts that they have to get, that we wanted this vibe of positivity and culture and joy in our culture. And I received a ton of feedback from, emails, text messages from new staff saying it is in fact, one person, a new staff member said, I was dreading this because they've gone to other places in schools where it's people talk at them with PowerPoints all day. And they said it was the most fun. And we got laughing because I did a little twist on their scavenger hunt, and then we came back and watched the slideshow. One of our new staff members, he wins the award. So Grady he showed up. He was decked out in all his Dwaynesburg Eagles. He just had a birthday. Oh my, it's so sweet. He just had a birthday. He just turned 25. And he got sneakers that are all Dwaynesburg. So they're Nikes or whatever, but they're purple and gold. Like, he is ready to roll. Yes, and he's been working with Ryan all summer as a transition. So just enthusiastic energy. So we want to replicate that next week. They have mandated trainings they have to do. Aaron Morris is going to come in. But we're hoping to keep it a vibe of support, time in their classroom, because I remember as a teacher, and I'm sure Tony can remember as well, like, you just needed to get in your classroom. Can I just have 2 hours? And I'm sure Ray knows that, right? Can I just have 2 hours in my classroom to put the desks together? So really hearing what they've been asking for. And you don't remember that, Tony? Yes, yes. And then it was, needed to be redone by January. So I invite the board to come next week, any parts of the day, even if it's popping in. I think that, as we move forward with joy and positivity, and that we're united as one district, that you are ultimately the leaders of the district, and that showing your support, I think people would really appreciate it. So when I let the union know that, some of the board members, they're like, people are going to be very excited about it. So I welcome all, and we had a great 2 days. Today, just the teachers worked with their mentors, and they're pretty excited about it. Buildings and grounds, again, thanks to Jeff Anand and his crew. Like, an amazing group of buildings and grounds, working really, really hard. I mean, right down to painting lines in the parking lot, and I mean, just working really hard. And so grateful for all they've done. And it's been nice to see teachers filtering back in the buildings. We had students do their lockers the other day, last minute hiring, and just really trying to promote a new culture here, a reset, that it's a new day at Dwaynesburg, and that we are one team. Other than that, I don't think I forgot anything, right? That's really what we've been focusing on, right? Yeah.
Anybody have any questions? All right, great. Thank you, Kim. Moving on to our Assistant Superintendent of Management Services report.
So I don't have a lot to say tonight, but I do know that we just recently finished cleaning the track. We had a company come and clean the track and reline it, so it was all ready for track season. So if you happen to stop by the elementary school, take a look at the track. It looks really nice. And then the capital project is on pause with the playground. Obviously, you can see we're just waiting for the playground equipment now. And that is still on track to be shipped out at their estimated date in September. So we're fingers crossed we're going to see that playground in October. So our kids will hopefully be able to play on it before the snow starts flying. And do the time, yeah. So we are doing the time capsule as well. The PTA is working on that as well, and working up some plans. So it allows them time to be able to put that project together as well. And I just like to echo what Kim said. Thankful for the facilities team for doing all the cleaning that they've done. I know that the buses are all ready to go as well. You drive by the bus garage, and you see the buses out front. They're all shined up, and they've been servicing them in the summer too. So we've got one bus that's already, I think, in the lot now that we had just received, one of our new buses that we had ordered. I think we're waiting for the second one. Sometimes they take a little bit past couple of years. So we're ready to kick it off for the school year.
I forgot one thing. So with the new staff orientation, Tony did her annual tour. Tony, they came back, they loved it. They're like, she knows everything about Duanesburg. Okay. Oh no. Mhm. So they were all, I mean, very impressed with her knowledge, and they thought she was funny, and nobody got car sick. That was a plus. Right, and it wasn't 3 hours long, too. Right, so, Tony, thank you. I think that is such a great tradition, and I know you had to kind of change your schedule a little bit, but I can't imagine anybody but her doing that tour every year. You'll have to give Vivian a personal tour when she comes.
Can I just ask is it on? About the playground? Were we always slotted for it to not be up until October, or was that pushed back? I just can't remember the timeline.
So they did have to wait for the ship date. I mean, we at the time when we engaged with the playground, they didn't have an official date. And in that combination, we also allowed the PTA is also working on a project to get this the time capsule into the playground as well. So it seems to be working hand in hand to be able to allow everything to work together. And there's really no way of knowing what your ship date is going to be, early in the spring for a playground when so many things.
So they waited to order? I just,
No,
Shipping
because-
delays. Shipping delays.
No, there's always shipping delays. Like I can say like the auditorium seating that is in the back of this auditorium was backed up about 6 months, I think it was, when they had ordered it, when they had thought originally it was going to be 2. So you don't know until they actually put the project together and get their approvals to go ahead and send that out, and they can't order that until they get the approvals. So they can only go on what they're being told at the time when they start to put that project together. So
And the bonus of it all is that when some members of PTA had the idea of the time capsule, like now they can wait for the kids to come back and be thoughtful about what they do, how they do it, do the ceremony. In a perfect world, when we did the playground at Heatley, the shipping delays were astronomical because of COVID. It's better now, but there's still delays, because they get wherever they have to get the materials.
curious, like, if we know there's usually a shipping delay problem, why wouldn't we have ordered it sooner?
Oh, go ahead.
it was definitely ordered upon approval. Like there was no delay on ordering that. It's simply like once they put the order in, they're told on when it's going to ship out, based on what their design is. So nobody waited for this process to occur in order to order that.
So
that
the
playground.
way it works is when the project goes to state ed, right? State ed now it's up to 6 months when you have a project for approval. When state ed gives you a project number, then it goes out to bid, right? And then you have to put it out to bid for, 30 days or something like that? Then you collect bids, you award whoever is awarded the bid, and then from there they put the order in. So it's not like there was any delay. So from, an initial ordering, they give you a tentative date, their suppliers, and then from there, we're at the mercy of their suppliers. But I have to mention that as districts, and I know this for a fact because the superintendent's group I'm in, that as districts are trying to quickly spend their stimulus funds, a lot of districts in the last year to 2 years have put projects in to modify their playgrounds to accommodate students with special needs. So the demand on playground equipment, and as well as the previous one, it was pressure-treated wood. Now that districts had the funds that they needed to spend, I mean, some districts were looking for ways, and we savored every penny of it. They knew that it was an opportunity to get rid of the pressure-treated playgrounds and order the newer equipment. So all suppliers on playground equipment, that's why Heatley was delayed nearly a year with their playground equipment, because there's just, supply and demand.
I seem to remember too that it was like in the dream world, it'd be ready for open of school. It was probably going to be ready mid-September. So we're really
Absolutely.
only looking at like 3 weeks.
Right, that is correct.
A 3-week delay.
Yeah,
I
3
know
week delay, yeah.
again, so a year ago, it took them, they got pieces and they started installing the playground, but it wasn't available for students for an entire full year. That would be awful.
It would be.
Yeah.
Right.
It was torture for the poor kids because they see piece by piece going up and like they never had a playground. And so the first playground ever at Heatley, they're like, we can't go on it. No, you can't, not yet.
But if you drive by now, the map is already painted on the pavement now, so
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
looks really good. The roof is, they've, what's that?
Started singing on fire.
Oh. They've done as much as they can at the elementary school. There's been some changes with some of the plans at the elementary school, but they're able to do a lot of the work at the high school now that they had planned on doing this fall. So that's why there's materials here in the parking lot. They're going to move right over. The plan is to move right over to the gymnasium and the library roofs this fall. So
And I think CJ talked about that
yeah,
last meeting. And it's actually really good timing because for a few years they've noticed like a musty in the elementary office. And Anand said this is the perfect time. And they were actually, unless I read it wrong, they were able to figure out where it was some sort of fascia or something within the ceiling. So now that they're on the roof, they can actually repair that. Don't ask me that. Constructive. All I know is they figured it out and they can fix it. That's all I needed to know. Yeah, they're going to do it. They're working on it. I think they probably have to order some more material, but while they're doing construction on the roof, this is now, and they had things pulled up, it was the perfect time for them to go in and try to forensically figure out where the must smell was coming from.
So that stuff is going to get moved up. I did ask when they plan on moving that up, just to remind them today, because I do want that moved. The plan is that stuff can be staged out in the back area or up in the back by the maintenance area, so that it's not bothered by anybody. Yeah, they're going to play. Well,
Or they're
I
gonna
hope
back
that
the car in it.
Hopefully they won't, but we have asked no. We have asked that they move it so that we have the parking lot back for the September, so.
If it's not moved by Thursday, I'll follow up with CJ. Francis, stay off the materials.
No jumping around.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else, Jeff? All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate the reports. Moving on to financial items. Right. Recommended action. Resolved, based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approve the following financial reports as submitted. Treasurer's report ending 7/31/24, ECA report ending 7/31/24, General warrant A6, capital warrant HQ3, ECA warrant 2, dated 8/22/24. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second? I'll second. Thank you, Ray. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Next item, approve kitchen inventory stipend. Resolved, based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves payment of the kitchen inventory stipend of $500 to Gabrielle Hoffman as per the Duanesburg Educational Support Association contract. I'm not reading that part. With the start of the 2024-2025 school year. Roman numerals and I don't get along that well. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Tony. A second? Thank you, Sarah. Comments or questions?
Go ahead. No.
Nope, don't have to.
No. Yeah. This is different than the 2150 petty change stipend?
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next item. It is
It's not
very
working
slow
well
today.
tonight.
Approve contracts and agreements. Resolved, based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approved the listed contracts between Duanesburg Central School District and each party for the 2024-2025 school year. These agreements shall not be binding on the parties until authorized and signed by each party's respective representatives. And our agreements are with Shalmont Central School District and a shared services agreement with BKW. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Lissa. Second? Okay. Tony? Okay. Comments or questions? Just commenting that our shared services is the return of the same physics teacher, correct?
Yes.
That we had last year? Great.
I heard that went pretty well, too.
All right, very good.
We've, just to let you know, we've asked them to look into possibly a fax teacher
Oh, cool.
as well.
Facts.
Family and
Consumer.
science. Yeah. I'm used to just fax, yeah. Yeah, sorry.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It's loading. Slowly.
Kim can tell you that.
Maybe I'll
Paper
take
wouldn't
one
need
of the
load.
paper ones. Oh, there it is. All right. I'll keep working on this, but if I have to go to this, I will. All right, very good. Financial item approved 2024-25 adult meal prices. Resolved, based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approved the following adult meal prices as listed. Do I have a motion? Oh. Thank you, Sarah. A second? All right, thank you, Ray. Comments or questions?
Yes, how much did it go up by?
I don't know, I wasn't here last year.
I'm sorry, I don't remember off the top of my head.
I don't think much.
I
I don't think it's much.
I mean, maybe a quarter.
But the kids' meals aren't going up.
No,
They're
this is just the adults only. So any staff members or any adults that are in the building.
Students still receive free lunch and free breakfast. And then if they want a second entree, then they have to pay for it. Yeah, K-12.
Oh, yes.
Pre-K-12.
Yes, we did that at the last meeting, yes,
Yes,
that we
did.
found that out, that we qualified. That's okay.
That's okay.
Yep,
That's
yep.
okay.
All students, free breakfast and lunch for all students unless they want more than one entree. Yes. Okay. Any other questions? Did I do the voter readiness?
We got a
Am
first
I
and a
moving on to the
second.
next one?
Got a first.
Call
I did a first and a second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
It's hard. I know. It gets hard.
Listen, I
There's a lot going on.
missed
You're
last
midway
month,
through the
so.
meeting. I get it.
It's loud. All right. Next item, approved transfer of unassigned fund balance to capital reserve fund. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Duanesburg Board of Education authorize transfer from the unassigned fund balance to the new capital reserve fund A878.1 in the amount of $486,858. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Tony. A
I'll second.
Thank you, Francis. Comments or questions?
Unassigned fund balance, where has that money been allocated for, from, how do we have almost $500,000 to use?
It's funds that were remaining from the 23-24 school year. That are, so you're above your 4% that we're allowed to carry. So this is, I wouldn't say that we've way over budgeted.
In the past, it's been $1 million.
Yeah. So we brought it down significantly
So,
from prior years.
so lots of times, so you have a family move in that has 2 or 3 children with special needs, and some placements can be easily $100,000. So what we have to do as a district when we budget, it's called the MO calculation, the maintenance of effort calculation. It's so much fun. And it makes most business officials' brains explode. But you have to look at like what you've historically spent on special education and what you allocate from budget to budget. So you have to be mindful that And $500,000 is not a lot of money for the district of this size.
No.
Again, we say we got a family in that the children have special needs, and there's 2 children who have BOCES placements, that's $200,000. And if you don't budget for that possibility, you get an ENL student in. There are no ENL teachers out there, and if you contract with BOCES, a full-time ENL teacher through BOCES is $175,000, and it's not aidable. So districts have to, through the SMO calculation, demonstrate like what they've spent with special education, ENL, those special areas, and have they done the maintenance of effort to make sure they're inclusive of those costs. So, you know, districts have to be fiscally responsible because you don't know what the school year is going to face. And then when you have it, the responsible thing is not to have that money just sitting and unassigned where it's just floating, because the state could very easily say, obviously you don't need money, we're going to take more aid. And by moving it into a capital reserve or any of our reserves that we have, those are your rainy day funds. So this one is for building restorations and or like this current capital project, you used a capital reserve fund. You can't replenish a capital reserve fund, you have to start a new one, but then there are certain reserve funds like retirement, health insurance, tax tertiary, things like that. So within the state comptroller, they say like after you're done with your school year, you close your books out. If there's any money left over, it is you can't go above the 4%.
Right.
Yeah.
So could we opt to give part of that back to the taxpayers since we took more than we needed to last year?
I don't know if legally we can give it back.
Could we explore that option?
I can ask those questions, and I know when we do our board workshop, we certainly can ask the district superintendent, like, what is, you know, or the school attorney. Again, we know that we're facing a significant fiscal cliff coming, like this year we did okay, but because of the foundation aid formula, we're actually going to be in the red. And so knowing that we're going to be in the red, we have to figure out how we're going to do a balanced budget. And the best way to do a balanced budget is to rely on these unassigned funds and use them as, you know, frugally as we can. It would be irresponsible if we gave money back, if we could give money back and then realize the fiscal cliff came, and then we were going to the taxpayers and saying, just kidding, we actually need a 7% increase in the tax rate.
Right, but that's making a worst case scenario assumption. Instead, you're keeping.
But that's essentially what Byrne has.
That's what Byrne has. It is a guarantee. I don't know if you've noticed that the state ad has been going around the state with the foundation aid formula feedback period where people within the educational community and taxpayers, it is coming. So our enrollment, foundation is based on enrollment. And our enrollment, originally years ago, your aid was based on the 2011, 2012 enrollment, and now they're leveling up to 2022.
Understood.
Right, so now we are going, so they held us harmless, so they gave us 3%, but they're very, very clear as they're going to move forward with a new aid formula. Districts that have had increased enrollment, which we have not, will receive additional aid. They're going to level up. I don't know if you remember the times when they talked about gap elimination. That was a period in like 2006, right-ish, 2006, 2007. It decimated school districts where they did this gap elimination. The state hasn't been secretive about it. We, in the next budget cycle and probably for the next several years, we face significant gaps in our budget where it, you know, maybe they'll hold us harmless and give us 3%, but the rate of inflation is anywhere from 7 to 11%.
I know, and that's why I feel like some of this would be helpful to our community.
But then again, so it would be a Band-Aid for a one-dose Band-Aid, and then what would we do the following year or in the year after? We know it's coming. It's not a what if. We know it's coming.
So if we move this to the capital reserve fund, are we able to then move it to other funds after that when we need to? Or is it then essentially stuck as a capital reserve fund?
It's stuck as a capital reserve fund for now, but we have other reserves. So like say,
So then moving this is just going to help us with capital reserves, not necessarily a fiscal cliff.
but you can use it, so say 2 years from now, when we know it's very lean, right? Like we're struggling to balance a budget, and we have a flood, something happens, right? And we have massive repairs to do. We can use this money to do those restorations. If, like with the TRS, the retirement system, by putting money in there, it
That
is,
wasn't the question.
I know, I'm just saying, for
That's-
example,
Digressing.
no, you said like if it's there, it's stuck. Yes, right? You can't move it out of there unless it's going for something that is the physical plant of the
So
building.
this money, extra money, is not helping with the fiscal cliff. It is only helping us beef up our capital reserve fund.
It can help with the fiscal cliff so that, say, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, if we need to do some sort of physical plant maintenance or repair or restoration, then it won't challenge the general budget. We can pull it right from that account.
Still doesn't help with the fiscal cliff.
So I'd like to add that, like, no matter what, we know that we have to maintain our buildings, right? So, come 5, 7 years from now, it's likely that we're gonna have some kind of a project here at this district. Whether it be to fix a wall or fix a room or modify a space, a learning space for kids. Whether it directly, goes back into, if it were to go back into taxpayers' hands, it kind of does, because you're going to reduce the amount that taxpayers are going to have to pay on a capital project. Because ultimately, like, if you borrow that money, or if you use that money from our reserve, which we did in this capital project, so the Centennial project, we used $6 million to make this project possible. And we're able to do all the roofing that has not been done in the 2017 project. And then we're only borrowing up to 22 million in that project. So essentially, we'd like to continue to financially be
And it's
responsible.
tax neutral, right, the
Right.
Centennial.
So
So, Sarah, so for example, 2 years from now, we have a budget, and something happens. It doesn't have to be catastrophic, and we know it's going to cost the district $300,000 we have a flood, and we have to replace floors and things like that. If we didn't have that money in the capital project, in that line, in the reserves, where would that money come from? It's not going to come from the general budget. So then we would have to go out and tax people more to pay for. So it offsets the fiscal cliff, because then we don't have to budget for a major repair.
I feel like that's a really roundabout way to get to that, because this money is not allowed for anything other than capital reserves. So if we're planning for, like, bad things to happen, but we're exercising higher taxes year over year because of that, I wonder if the community would rather, when something happens, then we have more taxes, not in case something happens year over year, we are just going to raise taxes in case it happens.
No, I understand what you're saying. I guess for me, I've worked in 5 different districts where, I can think of things that were unplanned, that something always unplanned has happened. So just when we talk about the fiscal plant, like, we had a flood at Heatley. It wiped out and then when we had the flood, we had to repair all the floors and the furniture, and then when they did that, we had black mold, and so then we had to have them take care of the black mold, and it went on and on and on. I don't like to gamble, and because, for me to say, to have the mindset of like, well, maybe the taxpayers would approve. So imagine if we didn't have the capital reserve to make those repairs at Heatley and take care of the black mold, which you can't have kids in that space anyway. And we took the gamble and said, all right, we're going to ask the taxpayers to pay for it, and then they say no. Then how are we going to, then if your fiscal plant is not to code, because every 5 years we have a building inspection, if it's not to code based on what they tell, and they report that to the state, then we no longer can operate in the building. So I'd rather know that we have a rainy day fund in all those areas, including the capital reserve and the teacher retirement system and the health insurance, et cetera, so that if we're faced with something that we didn't plan for, we're not taking the gamble going to the taxpayers and saying, no, we don't support this.
Because we already did it. Okay.
I just have one question.
Sure.
It sounds like it's safe to assume that every year we're going to have these adjustments in these calculations,
Yes,
based on the MO
it's never
calculation,
the
we're going to have
same,
these
yeah.
adjustments,
Yes.
plus or negative.
Mhm.
And it is better on the taxpayer if we use the previous year's
Mhm.
reserve. It's
Yeah, and that's what Jeff had said, like, so the current project, which is tax neutral, is technically a $28 million project.
right.
And the project is based on, again, that building condition survey where, hey, your roofs need to be repaired by this, you need to do that. And they tell, the architects report to the state what we have to do to keep our, physical plant, the inspection, intact. And because we had a healthy capital reserve when it came about, we didn't have to go to the taxpayers for that extra
Right.
$6 million. We had it, and we could use it.
Right. That's the way I understood
Right.
it. Just want to make
That's
sure.
accurate, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Right, but you always would make a plan with the money you have on hand. You wouldn't over plan the capital project with that 6 million if you didn't have it. Right, we probably would have made the capital improvement plan at the time $6 million less if we didn't have that available, correct?
It really depends on what is reported to the state that, like, so the building improvement, so architects come in and they say, by this year, you're gonna need to replace the roof. By this year, you need to replace your boiler. By this year, you need to have a new HVAC system. And then they do it every 5 years. And sometimes it's 5 years out, sometimes it's 10 years out. And then from there, it's our responsibility to save and plan to be able to do those repairs, because if we don't meet code, or like building code, then we can't have students occupying the building. And by putting away a little each year, knowing that, and I can provide the board the most recent building survey, like, so that's what Jeff goes on projecting out, like, I know in 5 years we have to be ready to do this, and how we're gonna get there.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with that. That
Yeah,
makes sense. Those
right.
are capital expenditures. Those are planned things that have a life expectancy. But to over plan for
The only thing that's not,
extensive emergencies like this, to then have the extra money on the front end, always to then slide the money over, is an interesting observation.
Let me just ask for one clarification. This $500,000 didn't come from one spot, did it? It was kind of like maybe a little bit from here, a little
Yeah,
bit from
when you're
there.
taking budget
Correct.
lines,
Yeah,
right, it's not
from
like
budget
one
lines,
budget line.
correct.
So we had a little bit extra in supply line, so maybe we had like $20,000 in supplies that we didn't spend, or maybe we had a little bit here, and then working with Jeff and, making sure, Jeff's done a great job where you double budget, right, like, okay, so we know that, we could use some money from our textbook aid, right, or software aid, and so really trying so that we can save our pennies to make sure that we're prepared for anything we don't anticipate. And as for your original question about when you're planning the capital project, there really isn't anything, for lack of words, sexy, right? Like it's a roof, like it's not like we are adding a wing on that
Just the playground.
I think it
Yeah.
got down to the playground.
Well, the playground, again, it's pressure-treated wood. It
No,
needed,
it had to come out.
It had to come out,
We
right.
did not have to replace it.
right. True, like, so we could have made a choice not to replace the playground.
I know Middleburg kept theirs.
They're pressure-treated,
Yep.
so probably in their building condition survey, maybe within the next year or so, they're gonna have to.
We were told by the insurance company that we couldn't keep that playground. They wrote me a letter and said, and this was years ago, they said, your playground is in disrepair. You need to take it down. You need to replace it because it's rotten on the inside. So the playground had to go.
And so really, we just go with the cycle of what's mandated by the building, the 5-year cycle.
I
Go
may
ahead.
be oversimplifying, but
Okay.
as I'm listening to you talk, what I think about is the difference between planning and saving and living paycheck to paycheck. So we're getting our paycheck in September from the taxpayers, and we're getting a paycheck from the New York State of aid. And we've budgeted to use that, but we've budgeted to use most of it, not all of it, so we can save some in the event that we need it for something, or in the future we want it for something because it's good for kids. And I would do the same in my own family budget, that I don't spend all of the money that I make. And I also expect that they'll pay me a little more each year because of inflation and things like that, so that I can then save, so I can then buy a house or buy a car or, or perhaps go on the vacation I've always wanted to take my family on. But we're not buying vacations as a school district. We're purchasing roofs and furnaces and,
Right.
buses and things like that. I think it's important to understand that we're I think, again, maybe I'm oversimplifying, but we can take this down from an organizational level to a personal level, and it's not financially wise to live paycheck to paycheck. So in that vein, you take the savings, you put it in places where you know you will need it, whether you like it or not, and then it's there so that you don't have to scramble and get loans and ask people for money, right? Is that an oversimplification?
No, it's actually, it's a
Yes.
great way to outline it. So like, my car has 140,000 miles on it, and it is 7 years old. And, if I don't save for repairs, because it's going to need repairs, it's going to need tires, then I'm going to have to go get a car payment to get a new car, right? So going out and getting a loan as a school district is not good financial business. It really, it actually reduces your credit rating. So districts will do it when they get in a bind. So like Bern probably will have to do it. I know like out in Worcester, New York, they didn't plan, they weren't fiscally responsible, and a few years back, and they were facing bankruptcy because they couldn't pay for their day in and day out daily operations, and then they had no extra money to do things like if a small flood happens, or and as for the playground, I can attest to, I was a principal in Gloversville. We had a pressure treated one. A child fell through it, and the district was sued. So, because they don't withstand like the new materials they use. So. Sure.
Hello? Okay. All right. So if we didn't have a capital reserve fund, just to pretend, where would the money go?
We could put it in one of the other reserves.
Okay.
Right now, the capital reserve fund that is mentioned here in this resolution is the capital reserve fund that was voted upon in May to
Okay.
establish a new capital reserve fund, because the one that's for the Centennial project will be fully depleted, because we were capped at 6 million or 10 years, and we capped it at 6 million. So we could put it in something like the TRS fund or the ERS fund. But again, knowing that we have fiscal cliffs ahead, we may very well have to balance the budget with an ERS or TRS fund. We do know that in 7 or 8 years or less, we're going to have some more capital work that's going to have to be done on these buildings. So no matter what, that money is going to end up being spent at some point on, and we're going to look back and say, well, we had this in the piggy bank.
Okay, so if it's approved, it's the only amount of money that will be in there is almost $500,000.
So
Is that right? Because there's probably nothing in there right now. Is that
it's
right?
brand new. That is correct.
brand new.
There is right now
Okay.
$0 in that account.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question that maybe it's a dumb question, maybe it's not.
No dumb questions.
Do we earn interest on the capital reserve when it's in there? If we
That is a
kept
great
it,
question.
I mean,
Jeff
if we earn
very
interest on
happy.
it, then we're saving people money.
I
down
love
the road,
talking
right?
about this one. So a couple years back, I put money into New York class, and yes, we are earning interest. This past year, it was up over 5%. So it was great. So we've been able to earn interest for the district. And with this money, that is exactly what I plan on doing. In fact, I think I joked with Kim, I go, I can't wait to get this in the
He
account.
gets so
'cause I wanna-
excited about when he sees the interest rates.
I said, I can't wait to put this in the account and watch the interest rate go up, because then later on down the road, we're going to thank ourselves.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is neat to watch that, because everyone's being responsible, and it's
Yeah.
neat that have different angles,
Mm-hmm.
and it's neat. Thank you. I'm glad I'm part of this.
That was a great question,
Yes,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Ray.
especially that's his favorite question.
You noticed me probably smile because I
And we,
love
we,
that.
we didn't
He
even plant
routinely lets
Ray.
me
We didn't even
know.
plant Ray with that question. Okay, I'm gonna request that we vote. Right, no, I think we've got our comments and questions all set. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay. It's moving, there it is, okay. Here we go. Next financial item, approve 2024-2025 tax rates. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Duanesburg Board of Education approve the 2024-2025 tax rates per the attached schedule. These are per $1,000 of assessed value. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second? Oh, Tony beat you to it, Ray, but thank you. I appreciate your enthusiasm. Ray seconded it.
No, it's per thousand.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's per thousand.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't see them.
I
Motioned and Tony beat Ray for a
Pretend
second.
Tony, okay.
All right, comments or questions?
Who sets the percentage? Is it set by
Who's-
the county?
The tax rates, so they're, I work a lot with the assessors and the towns, and we have to take their calculations and I put them into my calculations, and then we put together a whole, it's a lot of fun.
Do you want to see the spreadsheet?
I kind of do.
Kind
It's
of
a lot of, it's a lot of spreadsheeting.
I think Jeff and I like some of the same things.
I'm sure he'd gladly, Jeff likes his presentations and spreadsheets, so I'm sure he'd be happy.
Even I have no interest in that one.
No, Sarah says she's interested,
I-
so, yeah.
And we have a number of towns in our district,
We
which is why
do.
they are not uniform,
Right,
as you'll see if you open the document.
7 different
Yeah.
towns. It's a lot of fun.
So help enlighten me on the spread between Florida and Duanesburg, between 16 and 6D.
So that's also, each town has their own equalization rate.
Mhm.
So when the assessor's office sends us their tax rates, there's a way to balance it so that, when we tell taxpayers your taxes are going up 2.71%, we're aiming for that, right, in all towns. So each town, their equalization rates fluctuate. So then, in order to balance that out, we also have to have a tax rate that sets that so that each one of them within our district is paying about the same amount.
Well, aren't assessed values
Yeah.
in towns
Yeah,
different?
Yeah.
yes,
And I would,
So like,
they are
Yeah,
very
right.
different.
the Duanesburg and Princetown, I would guess they haven't reassessed in a long time.
They've been gradually going down and down and down for years, and
Yeah.
yeah, so the equalization rate, has been going down. So,
You can see the two values on your tax bill.
yeah.
You see like market value and
Mhm.
assessed value.
Yeah, you can see all of that when you receive your tax bill, you'll see all that. You'll see the equalization rate, the tax rate, assessed value. Yep.
Any other questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay, moving to personnel. Next item, accept ECA resignation. Resolved based on the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education accept the following resignation of Rachel Woodrow as modified volleyball coach. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Tony. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sarah. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next item. Resignation. Resolved based on the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education accept the following resignation of Isabel Kalin, Spanish teacher, effective September 24th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lissa. Comments or questions?
I just want to say, it's a was on, sorry.
No, it is, yep, you're good.
I just want to say that Miss Kalen, I think is the best Spanish teacher I've ever met. My son had her, and I know students are probably gonna miss her because she is really great. I'm sure whoever comes in next, will be great too. But I just
Big
wanted
shoes
to
to
say
fill.
that.
Big
Yes,
shoes to fill,
yes,
yes.
she's gonna be missed.
Yes, we do, as a board, thank her for her service to our district, and we wish her all the best in her new
Journey.
journey. Absolutely. Okay. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next item, approve appointments. Resolved, based on the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approved the submitted list of non-instructional appointments. ECA appointments are for the applicable 2024-2025 school year and sports season, beginning with preseason practice and ending at the conclusion of the season, including sectional play. All appointments are employees at will, and the appointment at this time does not guarantee employment for the entire school season, term, or year. Those appointments are as listed. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Tony. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Francis. Comments or questions?
Does Corey have an employee?
Oh, Corey.
Corey Rogotsky for the wrestling. No, he's not, but he has taken his training courses, fingerprint clearance. We've done the due diligence.
Any other questions? Okay. Oh,
Quick question. I'm just small detail. I noticed Charity Dory's says full-time kitchen worker, same salary, was part-time.
So she was part-time, so it shouldn't say salary, it should say same
Same
hourly rate,
Okay.
yeah.
I just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Okay,
good
thank
catch,
you.
yeah. No, it should be, they're hourly, so it's the same hourly rate, but just full-time now.
okay. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Oh.
Any abstentions?
So
oh,
Jeff, I'm
sorry.
gonna have to abstain for Gabrielle Hoffman and Charity Dories.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
Mavis.
I don't have to.
You
No.
didn't give them the
Okay.
job.
No, you did.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Unless you're the one that said you should hire them.
Okay.
They're my best friend or my
Awesome.
cousin's wife.
Good to know.
You're okay. Yep.
All right, then I say aye.
All right.
That was a little closer.
Okay. Oh, goodness, I went the wrong direction. Okay. Next item, approve appointment. V. Rambo. Be it resolved, based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approved the appointment of Vivian Rambo as probationary 4-year secondary English tenure track starting September 28th, 2024 school year at a stepped 13 of the DTA contract salary of $61,328, prorated for the 2024-2025 school year. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Lissa. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ray. Comments or questions?
I do have one question. I just thought of this, and I apologize for not
That's
thinking
okay.
of it earlier.
That's what we're here for.
We have a lot of English teachers. What happens if she doesn't get her Spanish certification?
I have all.
I'm sure she will.
She will, right.
I just,
So, I had mentioned previous, so what I'm gonna do is, it's called an incidental teaching form.
Okay.
And so with the incidental teaching form, teachers who are already certified in another area are allowed to teach one subject out of their certification, as long as we demonstrate that they are on the path towards that certification. So there's been a total of 3 tests that she's had to do, and she passed the first 2 this summer, and then she's slated for October. So she's already passed the first 2. The third one, and she's already taken a content specialty test. So, you know, she is more than 3/4. She's, you know, 3/4 of the way there. So, or 2/3 of the way there. So it shouldn't be a problem. So let's say worst case scenario, she doesn't pass October 24th. She's still, by the state of New York, allowed to keep teaching it, incidental. And I talked to her today that, like, we'll just we'll reschedule her to take it again in whenever they offer it again, and give her the supports. But I'm fairly confident that, like, if she's already done 2 of the tests and passed them, she's going to pass the 3rd one.
and it'll be 3 years until she's tenured. So we'll have it's a full 4?
Full 4.
Because she's
I have to
not
double.
currently tenured
Well, she
somewhere?
was tenured at a special
And
act
not in
school.
that field, that
She
track.
wasn't tenured. She was tenured in English, but it was a special act school, and so I've got to double check, like, I don't know if that qualifies as a public school, but I wanted to be safe to be sorry, then making it 4 years, we can always change the resolution to a 3-year.
Any other questions?
Thank you. I guess more of a statement. I understand everything that's happened and, you know, why we're at the 11th hour, but this just, I don't know. This almost feels like it needs a little bit more discussion. So I just wanted to kind of preface that, you know, before we cast votes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, any questions you have, I'm willing, we're in open session, we can discuss it. Like I said, we came down to the last between, what's today, Tuesday? This all unfolded Sunday night and Monday. And when I was finally notified that she was offered the position and accepted it and board approval, because we have kids in a week, we're like, okay, what are we going to do?
Do
So
we even know Green Island's going to release her?
they have to if she's resigning.
Okay. I mean, I know we always vote on things, so I didn't.
We're not releasing Kaylin until she's free.
Sure. Yes. Okay.
Both their 30-day timers start today.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
I guess I'm just curious that maybe this is a little bit more executive session type.
we can
Topic.
sure, absolutely. Yeah, we can talk more.
But we're still going to vote now.
Hmm.
So then it's kind of a moot point to talk about if we already vote on it.
It's
I mean,
we can. So here are your options. We can enter an executive session right now. You can motion for an executive session, or you could abstain, or you can vote no, or so it's really up to you. It's your decision. I know this is not a common practice. I've never done this before where it's been a last minute, but you know the priorities of staff and students was to make sure we had, you know, as Isabel is serving her 30 days with us, that we have somebody in place when she's done.
Do we have anybody on staff that could teach Spanish?
No one.
Nobody?
We had to pull that elementary teacher who was bilingual. That was it last year.
Okay. I mean, but, you know, I know we're constantly hiring and,
No,
you know,
no,
things
yeah.
like that. I didn't
Oh,
know
that's a
if that
great
had been
question. No, we
updated.
haven't hired anyone that is bilingual.
I just wanted to clarify too, like we have to have a foreign language teacher.
Yes,
correct?
to graduate high school, you have to have foreign
Okay,
language.
thank you.
And I'm a teacher as well, but foreign language teachers are hard to hire, kind of like math and science teachers these days. It's hard to get them.
Mhm.
My
So
understanding.
That's why we have to take this route. It's my understanding.
Yes, thank you.
My understanding is we're already sort of skating low too, on kind of options.
Right, we technically budgeted for 2,
Right.
and we're lucky to find, you know, 1.
But we're just barely meeting the curriculum requirements.
Right, so we are not offering any extra, so they get their checkpoint A, which is 8th grade, and then checkpoint B, which is 9th grade. And they have to have those credits they have to at least pass checkpoint A to graduate, and checkpoint B if it's a pathway. And at this juncture, because they can only teach up to 6 sections, we have a virtual teacher who does our Spanish 4 and Spanish 5. So we can't even really offer those higher levels in person because there's just no one out there to teach a foreign language.
Yep.
And forget it if you want French or German.
Yeah.
But if you want to go into executive session for more questions, we can you know, you motion for it, and then we can answer any questions that you have. Okay.
okay. Sorry, I feel, no, I'm stuttering. Do we have a majority of people that would want to go into executive session to discuss this, or is the preference to move forward and vote?
We should vote on that now then, right?
We'd
Motion
have to
has
make,
to make a
if we want to go into executive session, then someone needs to motion to do that. Okay, then we will move on with the vote on the appointment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Next item, approve appointment, C. Naminsky. Am I saying that correctly? Naminsky?
I think so.
Okay. Resolved, based upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the appointment of Colleen Naminsky as a long-term substitute business teacher pending New York State certification. Step 1 of the DTA contract, salary of $48,357, effective September 1st, 2024, and ending June 30th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lissa. Comments or questions? I would just like you to clarify what Colleen's going to be doing at the beginning, because she's coming in to be a business teacher, right? But she's also covering library for us. Is that right?
Her certification is elementary teacher. She taught 1 year at Bernox, and then with their reductions, she was let go.